Nanda Maharaj giving charity and how he satisfied everyone.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes?
Maharaj, I have a question on verse 12.
Verse 12?
Yes.
Okay.
In the translation it says all the Brajvasis offered blessings to Lord Krishna, that he becomes the king of Raja and long maintain all his inhabitants. However, we see that Krishna is actually he goes out of Raja when he was young itself, and he does not rule Raja later on, right? He basically moves to Dwarka. So his devotees normally, whatever they say, he makes it true. How do we understand in this case, like how he makes their words true, like their blessings?
Yes. Well, Lord Krishna resides eternally in Braja. What happened was, when Akrura came to take Lord Krishna to Mathura, he takes Vasudev Krishna to Mathura. And the Shamsundar Krishna, he stayed in Braja. He didn't leave Braja. So he stayed there. So the blessing was intact. Lord Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. He eternally resides there. And 5,000 years ago, when Akrura came to take Krishna to Mathura, at that time, they stopped to take bath, at the Akrura Ghat. And at that point, Vasudev Krishna went on to Mathura, and Shamsundar Krishna stayed in Vrindavan. And it said actually he hid himself in the hearts of the gopis. So that's how we understand that the blessings was intact. Lord Krishna certainly is the king of Braja, he's eternally the king of Braja, and he resides there eternally.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
He not only resides in Braja, he also resides in Mathura and Dwarka. Okay, so of course, how do we understand? Sometimes Krishna's manifest and sometimes unmanifest. Sometimes he's prakat, sometimes he's aprakat. Just Prabhupada gives the examples. They're just like clouds. Sometimes they're there in the sky, other times they're not there. But they're still there, but they're just not manifest. So Krishna is like that. Sometimes he manifests, like 5,000 years ago, he was manifest for his pastime. Now, at this time, he's not, he's in his aprakat form there in Vrindavan.
Yes, thank you.
Guru Maharaj, I remember one incident related to Govardhan and related to Nadia Bihari Prabhu's question. So after this Indra his pride was defeated by Lord Krishna, and then actually in Govinda Kund, he brought a Surabhi cow and gave Abhishek to Krishna, and actually established him as a king of Braj. Shall we understand like that?
Yes, if you like, you can understand like that. Yes, because he told Lord Krishna, actually, you're the real Indra. Indra means king. So Indra had, he'd become proud, and Lord Krishna had humbled him. So Indra came to offer to apologize to Lord Krishna. And so at that time, Indra, as you said, they did Abhishek. Mother Surabhi and Indra, they both did Abhishek of Lord Krishna. At that time, Indra also told Lord Krishna, you are actually Indra. You're the real Indra. Okay.
Maharaj, can I ask one question, Maharaj?
Yes.
Maharaj, generally when we hear about description of the residents of Vrindavan, even the animals, it is said that even the animals residing there are seen having 400 forms by the demigods. So we see it is said, and Prabhupada also says that those who have do offenses in Vrindavan, they become monkeys there, and later on they are purified and they will go back to Godhead. But what about the residents of the Vrindavan? Means I am talking about currently those who are residing there. So those things are not like very clearly given. So I wanted to know about them.
Well, it will depend on them. What is their mood? And how are they, actually, generally we see the people of Vrindavan, they're very, very pious and very devoted. Of course, they work all day, but, that's not a barrier. Just like the gopis, they were working all the time, but their hearts were always on Krishna. They were always thinking of Krishna and waiting for, they'd watch Krishna go off in the morning, they'd see Krishna come, wait for Krishna to come home at night. But all day they're working and they're chanting and singing songs about Krishna. So they were always in Krishna consciousness. So you're asking about the people of Vrindavan. I know there's one devotee from the UK, Parasuram Prabhu, and he would go to Vrindavan and he'd get a bullock cart and he'd take his bullock cart around Braja and they'd go to the villages in Braja and every night they'd have huge kirtan and all these Brijbasi people would come and they'd do wonderful kirtan and they would chant like anything. They were wonderful devotees. He would tell me, I never got the chance to actually go, but he would tell me about it. He says, so amazing how all these people in Vrindavan, they're so wonderful. They love kirtan, they love chanting. They're really natural devotees. Indradumna Swami told about, he went to this temple, Dauji. You know Dauji in Vrindavan? The temple of Dauji? So he went there to Dauji and there was this young girl there and he was talking to her and he was asking her, do you want to come to the West with me? She said, no, I'm not going to leave Dauji. I want to be here with Dauji. I don't want to leave Dauji. So even though a young girl, but she had so deep attachment for Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, like that. The residents of the holy Dham, the Dhamvasis, are very, very special people. So we're taught that's the first offense in living in the Dham, to respect all the inhabitants of the Dham, no matter who they are. Even the trees, and the birds, the pigs, the dogs. I was hearing, it's mentioned also in Venu Gita, in 10th Canto, Venu Gita, it tells about the birds in the Dham. They're great sages who come. They're great sages, they're not ordinary birds, but they're great sages who come in the Dham to be in Vrindavan Dham. So all of these different living entities in the holy Dham, they're very special. We cannot understand very well their actual position, but they are very, very special. Prabhupada did say something about the hogs. He said that they did some offense, they were yogis, but he said they'll take birth. This will be the last birth, next birth they'll go back to Godhead, finish off their karma. People didn't like it though. Brijbasi people didn't like to hear that. Some of the people, like the caste Brahmins there. So I have to be careful what we preach in Vrindavan. Have to be careful. Prabhupada could say these things. We cannot. Okay.
I want to add on this, with your permission.
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Maharaj, once there was yatra by Radhanath Swami Maharaj, about 200 devotees,
yes.
And they were in Unchagaon, I think a village of Lalita or Vishakha, one of the Sakhis. And somehow they had no access.
Lalita Sakhi's house.
Lalita Sakhi, okay. Somehow they had no access to Prasadam. So they approached the villagers, and within 1 hour, 10-15 families came together and served a full meal to our 200 devotees, And on top of that, they were also refusing to take money for that. They said, no, you are our guest, you are in Vrindavan, please accept this as our offering.
Oh, wonderful. Amazing. Yeah, where could you get that kind of etiquette? Only in the Dham. Very special. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Yes, some people sometimes wonder, you know, that 5,000 years ago, people in the Dham, they're special, but what about today? Are they still special? Yeah, they're still very special people. The Dham is still the Dham, and the Dhamvasis are not ordinary people. Okay? We'll go ahead. So Nanda Maharaj satisfied everyone, and you see in the purport, Prabhupada writes about satisfying Vishnu. Prabhupada writes at the end of the purport, Nanda Maharaj wanted to see his newborn child happy. That was his purpose. Therefore, he wanted to satisfy Lord Vishnu. And to satisfy Lord Vishnu, it was necessary to satisfy his devotees, such as the learned Brahmanas, Mogadas, and Suttas. Thus, in a roundabout way, ultimately it was Lord Vishnu who was to be satisfied. Right? Satisfy the devotees, satisfy Vishnu. And then next we hear about Mother Rohini. Now, Mother Rohini, of course, the mother of Balaram. She's also in the home of Nanda Maharaj. And it's described, she is the most fortunate. She's described Mahabhaga. Why is she so fortunate? Why is she Mahabhaga?
Among all Vasudev's wives, she could only stay in Vrindavan.
Yes. And what's special about that?
Because she can raise Krishna and Balaram together.
Yes, she can witness.
She also received Supreme Lord as his
She
her son.
received all the guests in the ceremony and thus celebrated Janmashtami, the first Janmashtami.
Yeah, she's celebrating the birth ceremony. She's also happy. Nanda Maharaj gave her new clothes and ornaments because he was worried, you know, she will feel a bit morose because her husband's not there. She's separated from her husband for a long time. Of course, Vasudeva had several wives, but she was one of them. And Nanda Maharaj was taking care of her, and she delivered Balaram there, and Balaram was being raised. So the two mothers, Mother Yashoda and Rohini, they're both there. So Rohini is Mahabhaga because she's there in Vrindavan and she can witness all the childhood Leela of Krishna and Balaram. She's so fortunate. She's seeing Lord Krishna crawl in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. So later on we hear that after Lord Krishna grew up a bit and gone to Dwarka, then Lord Krishna was speaking the names of different gopis and different people who people in Dwarka didn't know. And they wondered, who are all these people? And it was only Mother Rohini who knew. So they asked Rohini, please tell us about Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Right, Srinivas? Yes? Tell us about Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. Rohini was asked by the people in Dwarka, tell us about Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. And what happened?
So in Dwaraka, they asked, right?
Yeah. Krishna had
That
grown up. He'd gone.
Jagannath Leela.
Yes, right. That's when Krishna and Balaram, Subhadra came in the back and they were hearing and their arms shrunk into their legs and their eyes dilated. And this was Jagannath Leela. Rohini was describing. They were hearing Rohini speak the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. So amazing. So Rohini was so fortunate. Although we would think she's unfortunate, actually she was so fortunate because she got the Lord as her son, and then she got to live with them in Vrindavan, and then she went to Dwarka and she lived with them there also. So she was really fortunate. Okay, so then text 18, O Maharaj Parikshit, the home of Nanda Maharaj is eternally the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eternally, the Lord eternally resides in the home of Nanda Maharaj. We go to Nandagram, the Lord is residing there. We may not see him with our material eyes, but he's there. His transcendental qualities and is therefore always naturally endowed with the opulence of all wealth. Yet beginning from Krishna's appearance there, it became the place for the pastimes of the goddess of fortune. And the goddess of fortune we call Rama Devi, right? The Vishnu is called Krishna and Radha is called Rama. Rama Devi, the goddess of fortune, or the goddesses of fortune. There are many Ramas, but there's one supreme goddess of fortune, and that is Srimati Radharani. And Prabhupada writes about that there. He said that Radharani would also appear there very soon. Nanda Maharaj's abode was already opulent, and since Krishna had appeared, it would be opulent in all respects. Right? The other day I was telling you, like, somebody asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj, is this person, there was this South Indian guru, people were saying he's an avatar, he's God. And they asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he said, well, if he was God, why is the world so poor? If God is actually present on the planet, the world will be opulent. And it was when Lord Krishna appeared. And certainly Vrindavan, that area was very opulent. Because the goddess of fortune comes and she bestows her blessings there, wherever Lord Krishna resides. And he resides there eternally. So Nanda Maharaj then appoints the local cowherd men to protect Gokul, and then went to Mathura to pay the yearly taxes to King Kamsa. So Nanda Maharaj, remember previously, he didn't have a son. He didn't have a child. So when the man doesn't have a child, he doesn't worry very much. He's not thinking about, position. He's not worried about money and so on. Because no children, no family. He only has his wife only. So he doesn't worry very much. He's not very possessive. But after you get a child, it's like, it's like you become like a person with 4 legs. You become 4 legs. And you get another child, you get 6, it's like 6 legs. You become more and more possessive. So Nanda Maharaj, he got the one son. So he was thinking about his situation. And he knew about King Kamsa. He knew what an evil person Kamsa was. Everybody knew about that, what kind of person Kamsa is. So Nanda Maharaj decides that he doesn't want any trouble, so he went off to Mathura to pay his taxes. Because he thought, if I go and pay the taxes, then there won't be any problem. And he even took some offerings as well to give. He was a very generous person. So he left all the local men, the cowherd men, the Gopas, to protect Gokul. And he went off to Mathura to pay his taxes to King Kamsa. We always hear about people, tax evaders in India, very common, right? The taxmen come and they'll raid and go through the person's accounts and check all the money. They want to see what the person's doing with all his money. So, Mathura, to pay his taxes, annual taxes, again his thinking in paying the taxes is to protect his child. He's not thinking about anything else. Nanda Maharaj is fully in this Vatsalya Ras. and he just wants to protect his child. So he goes to Mathura, he's thinking, if I pay Kamsa his taxes, because he'd heard, he may have heard that Kamsa had ordered he had ordered that they were going to go around and kill all the young babies, kill all the children 10 days old and younger. So he may be worried that want to protect our children. Of course, Nanda Maharaj is in Gokul, so he's not going to get any harm. The Lord is there as his child. No, they're not going to be able to do any harm. But Nanda Maharaj is not thinking he's God. Nanda Maharaj doesn't think Krishna is God. Vasudeva, he was thinking that Krishna is my son. At the same time, he knows he's God. So Vasudeva and Devaki, they thought like that. But Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, they can never think like that. They only think he's our son. And they didn't know Krishna had been, the one Krishna had been taken by Vasudeva had come and brought Vasudeva Krishna there and merged with the Shyamsundar Krishna. This was not known to Nanda Maharaj. So when Nanda Maharaj was in Mathura, Vasudeva heard that his friend and brother had come there and he'd already paid the taxes. And he went to meet Nanda Maharaj. He went to the residence of Nanda Maharaj. So when the two meet, who should offer respect to who?
Vasudeva should offer respect to Nanda because Nanda is more elder.
Well, we could argue against that. We could say Nanda should offer respect to Vasudeva because Vasudeva's a higher caste. Vasudeva is Kshatriya and Nanda Maharaj is Vaishya. So Vasudeva is a higher caste. So who should offer respect to who? Certainly what you say is true. Nanda Maharaj is older than Vasudeva in age, but Vasudeva has the higher caste. So, what are you going to do in that situation?
But he is receiving a guest, so Vasudeva has to give respect first time.
Well, it's
actually Vasudeva went to his house.
Yeah, it's Nanda Maharaj's house. Vasudeva went to Nanda Maharaj's house. Nanda Maharaj, Vasudeva's a guest. It's Nanda Maharaj's residence where
Nanda Maharaj should offer respect to Vasudeva because Varnashrama position is considered more important than the seniority by age, at least during the previous yuga.
In the previous yuga, it was like that, yes. The caste was important.
Brahmana is young, but Kshatriya is older, then the Brahmana gets respect from the older Kshatriya. So the same principle should apply here also.
Brahmana, even the young Brahmana gets respect from the older Brahmana. Right, we see, generally even a young, they have young monks. You go to a Buddhist country like Thailand, and they have young monks. They have these very young boys, monks. And people will come, they will respect them because they're monks. They're very young. But the older people will come and bow to them and bring them offerings and so on. They're just children, actually. But they're respected, just like, and they'll address them as Prabhud, meaning God, the God Buddha, the Buddha God, the Buddha monk. Although they're little children, they'll address them the same as they address the older person. So age is not so important, but the caste, that social position, that's the important thing in the Vedic culture. But Nanda Maharaj, he doesn't do it. He doesn't offer respect to Vasudeva. One reason he was just overwhelmed with happiness, just seeing Vasudeva, that he was so happy that he was just overwhelmed.
Maharaj?
Yes?
and I'd like to, know your reaction from that. It is stated that, like in the purpose, that Nanda and Vasudeva, in a way, they were brothers. They were like very close friends.
Yes.
So, like when they're when they're like friends, generally friends, we understand it to be of equal status or stature. Then we are not like so much like. We are not so much. We don't so much consider that kind of hierarchy when friends like that generally kind of. Dulls the difference between the senior or junior or the varnashram, because when you're friends mean like to take each other on an equals footing.
That's right. Yes, that's.
So then, how do in such cases, just like we see in day-to-day affairs in ISKCON also, like friends, like that's for the third person that may be somebody is senior, somebody is junior, but and they are like friends. It's a little different. And so, what are your thoughts on it, Maharaj?
Yes, well, everything, time, place, circumstances, and you have to, what is the relationship to them? Different kinds of friendship is there. What kind of friendship do you have? Is it friendship like Krishna and Uddhava, or is it friendship like Krishna and Arjuna, or Krishna and the cowherd boys? There's different types of friendship, isn't there? So different levels of relating to each other. We have to consider everything in the proper manner. But as you said, the friendship, because of friendship, Nanda Maharaj was overwhelmed with love, because they were actually like brothers. They were from the same grandfather, but different mothers. Different mothers. Yes, Chulangi?
Guru Maharaj, my question is, it seems like here that Varna and the Ashram are not considered, because we can see from the purport of the next verse, Prabhupada said Nanda Maharaj was older than Vasudeva, therefore Nanda Maharaj embraced him and Vasudeva offered him namaskar. And when I read Sanatana Goswami's commentary and also Jiva Goswami's commentary in the same verse, they mentioned two reasons. They said Nanda did not prostrate himself before Vasudeva because he was elder than Vasudeva. And then, or he did not offer prostrations because he was overcome with prema. So the second reason, as you related, but the first reason seems they are not considering the varna or ashram, only the age.
Yeah. Well, of course, physically, as you get older, it's not so easy for people to bow down. There are many elderly people, they're not able to bow down. And it's not necessarily the custom among people. Not everyone will bow down. These are brothers. To bow down to your brother, that's a bit unusual. But he embraced him. So the brotherly affection is there. So that is nice. It's not like they're members of a society and you have to bow down, not like that, They're brothers, so he was showing brotherly affection by embracing him. And at the same time, Vasudeva is respectful. He's appreciating Nanda Maharaj, an older person, is honoring him. And he also knows, of course, Vasudeva also knows that Nanda Maharaj is taking care of his son, who is God. So he's really honoring, he's really respecting him. He knows he's got my son. Nanda Maharaj doesn't know it, but Vasudeva knows that he's got my son there, and my son is the personality of Godhead. And so he's certainly going to respect him, give him good honor.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu?
But how did Vasudeva go visit Nanda Maharaj if he was in the prison?
How did Nanda Maharaj go to visit?
Vasudeva. How did Vasudeva go see Nanda Maharaj if he was in prison?
No, but remember, they got released, remember? When the Durga rose up in the sky and said, "You're such a fool, this child who's going to kill you is already born some other place." So at that time, Kamsa had a change of heart. He became repentant. And he let Vasudeva and Devaki free. He took their shackles off and he begged them to forgive him. And he gave them freedom. And he apologized to them for killing their children. You don't remember that?
Yes, thank you.
It's in the earlier chapter. I think it's chapter 3. Chapter 4. Atrocities of Kamsa. Like that. Yeah, so Kamsa personally released them from the prison. Later on, he'll put them back in prison again. But for now, they're free. Okay?
Raj.
Yes?
Again, when they meet in the Kurukshetra, it comes in chapter 81. There also Vasudeva embraces Nanda Maharaj. There is no mention of offering obeisances to each other. They just embrace each other.
Okay, yes. Of course, that's after some time. They're very old then. Nanda Maharaj is really elderly, right? You know, because Krishna's grown up, they've gone off to Dwarka, they lived in Dwarka for some time, then they came back to Kurukshetra. Yes. Did Nanda Maharaj also come? Yeah, it's mentioned.
Yes, Maharaj.
The message was sent to the gopis to come. Certainly the gopis all came because Krishna said, he said before, when we went to the wrestling match in Mathura, at that time all the cowherd boys had come. So he said, this time to Kurukshetra, cowherd boys should stay back and let the gopis come to Kurukshetra. So Kurukshetra is the only place outside Braja where Krishna and Radharani were together. Okay, Nanda Maharaj had also come there, you say? Okay, all right. So he met with Vasudeva because Krishna brought all of his mothers and fathers, brought everyone from Dwarka. They all came there to Kurukshetra to do the sacrifice, and they met all the people from Vrindavan again. So they just embraced, huh? So that was their relationship. But the etiquette is there, you know, the other etiquette. We see tradition, Krishna dealing with the Pandavas. He would bow before Yudhisthira and Bhima. He would embrace Arjuna, and Nakula and Sahadev would bow to Krishna. So bowing, sometimes they just pranam, bow the head, and other time maybe get down, not all the time they would get down on the ground and offer full obeisances or like that. I don't know how common that was. And we see when Sudama Brahman came to Dwarka, how Krishna worshipped Sudama Brahman. They were also friends, but still Krishna worshipped because he's a Brahmana. And Krishna gave him great honor. All right, so Vasudeva heard that his friend, dear friend and brother had come. And Prabhupada talks about their relationship as brothers. Vasudeva's father married a Vaishya girl, and from her Nanda Maharaj was born. And then later Nanda Maharaj himself married Yashoda, who was also a Vaishya girl. But Vasudeva, his father was also Surasena. He had other wives, and he had another wife who was not a Vaishya, and so Vasudeva was born from that other lady. So Vasudeva is Kshatriya. He kept his Kshatriya caste. So Nanda Maharaj, text 21, Nanda Maharaj heard that Vasudeva...
Maharaj, can I ask a question, Maharaj, please?
Oh, okay, Prabhu.
Maharaj, here it is mentioned that Vasudeva's father, Shurasena, married a Vaishya girl. But actually, we have heard that it was a Devamida who had two wives, and one son was Shurasena and another was Parjanya. And Parjanya's son was Nanda Maharaj. Parjanya had 5 sons, and one of them was Nanda Maharaj.
Okay.
So, Maharaj, how these two contradictory statements are here, how do we explain? Because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami both have given that Devamida had two wives, and then from one Kshatriya wife was Shurasena, Vaishya wife he had Parjanya, then from Parjanya came...
Yes, I saw that. I saw that in the commentaries of the Acharyas.
Yes, so how do we say the Prabhupada has written here Shurasena married a Vaishya?
Well, I don't know. There may be editing mistakes. I don't know. You can ask Hridayananda Maharaj. You know, he's the author. Gopi Paranadana Prabhu is no longer with us, of course. Oh no, this is Prabhupada, right? We're reading Prabhupada's work. This is Prabhupada's work. But I don't know how to explain the difference. It may be that there's some mistake there in editing or something. I don't know.
Guru Maharaj, I read as many commentaries I can read, and then I find out one place I cannot quote, I forgot which one, but it's mentioned, this only proves that Nanda and Vasudeva, they're very intimately related, either as brothers or cousins. I will try to find the quote and send.
Yeah, they're in cousin. They're friends and brothers. As you say, could be cousin brothers. Yeah, it can also be cousin brothers. India is like that. They call themselves brothers, but they're different mothers and stuff like that. Different mother and father, but same grandfather. So they're like cousins.
So, Maharaj, my point was that sometimes it becomes difficult to explain that Prabhupada has written, we cannot say Prabhupada has written wrong, or if there is an editing mistake, Maharaj, it has been going on for so many years, so it should have been corrected. So how do we explain that this is Prabhupada has written it, Shurasena?
Well, I don't know, Prabhu. I don't think it's a major issue, you know. I wouldn't get hung up about a thing like this. You know, sometimes there are problems, are differences. You know, when we start trying to change things, then people really get upset. Just like, you know, Jayadvaita Swami, he corrected some mistakes and he added things in the Bhagavad Gita which were more close to Prabhupada, which was actually Prabhupada's words. And he got so much flack, so much criticism for it. So you have to be very careful in changing the shastras and doing things like that. I don't know. I mean, we can talk. If you want, you can write to Dravida Prabhu in the BBT.
Yes, Maharaj.
That's, you know, and ask him about it. Dravida Das Brahmachari in the BBT, and he's usually, and he's found, well, he'll be on the internet, you should be able to get him. He would be an authority person to ask, and he would probably give you a reply also.
Thank you, Maharaj.
I don't know, I mean, Krishna Kshetra Maharaj may know something, I don't know. And Jalangi said she's going to look more into it.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, also I have a comment on this.
Yes.
Because recently I find a contradictory point, and I wrote a letter to Banu Maharaj. And my question is about Sankarshan and Balaram. Because during the Bhagavatam Bhaktivedanta course study, when we're studying the first chapter, the verse 8, we find out he said, "My dear Shukadev Goswami, you have already explained that Sankarshan, who belongs to the second quadruple, appeared as a son of Rohini named Balarama." So that means Balarama appears from Sankarshan. But then after 2 days, when I was translating His Holiness Japataka Swami Guru Maharaj's class, and he was giving class on Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 20, verse 188, he said, so Sri Balarama is a Vaibhava Prakash, manifestation of Krishna. He's also manifested in the original quadruple expansions of Vasudeva. Anyway, this means first we have Balarama, and then we have first quadruple, and then second quadruple. So, but according to Bhagavatam, we have the second quadruple. Then from second quadruple Sankarshan, then we have Balarama. So I wrote one letter to
Well,
Bhagavatam.
there are different Sankarshans.
Oh. I see. But maybe it's only one line I can share that Banu Maharaj said. He said it just means they're non-different.
Yeah.
This is his answer. Very, very simple. He said, Sankarshan, who belongs to the second quadruple, appeared as the son of Rohini named Balarama, just means they're non-different. So if we can apply the same logic here, either brothers, they have the same father, different mothers, or they have the same grandfather and different grandmothers. They're related as brothers or cousins, not much different.
No, okay. It's a technical point. I don't want to spend too much time on this. But maybe you could ask Banu Maharaj also about this. What's his opinion about this? Banu Maharaj is in Chennai, and he has his own. Of course, he translates the commentaries of the acharyas, so he would go with the acharyas. But he may be able to tell you about what's wrong here, if this is wrong or if it's not wrong. All right? So,
Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
going ahead, we see in that purport, Prabhupada talks about Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram and their particular pastimes. In Vrindavan, that Krishna plays the flute and Balaram carries the plough. Right? So, Krishi Goraksha Vaninam Vaishya Karma Swabhavaja. So, Krishi Raksha is Balaram and Goraksha is Krishna. Krishna protects the cows. He uses his flute to call the cows and they respond when they hear the cows. And Lord Balaram, he carries his plough and he uses his plough to till the soil and to different pastimes he does with the plough. So these two brothers represent these two important aspects of Vedic culture. Farming, the most pious activity, and taking care of the cows, very transcendental service for Krishna. Okay, going ahead, text 21. Nanda Maharaj heard that Vasudeva had come. He was overwhelmed with love and affection. Seeing Vasudeva suddenly present, he got up and embraced him with both arms. Very nice. Maharaj Parikshit, having thus been received and welcomed by Nanda Maharaj with honor, Vasudeva sat down very peacefully and inquired about his own two sons because of intense love for them. So Nanda Maharaj was taking care of the two sons of Vasudeva. Krishna and Balaram were both there in the home of Nanda Maharaj. Of course, Nanda Maharaj thinks Krishna is his son, and actually he is his son, but Vasudeva's thinking he's his son. And Balaram is definitely, that's the son of Rohini. So they're both there, and they're both like in the home of Nanda Maharaj. So then text 23, my dear brother Nanda Maharaj, at an advanced age you had no son at all, and were hopeless of having one. Therefore, that you now have a son is a sign of great fortune. Yes, very great fortune to have a son. Definitely for a farmer, for somebody who's the Vaishya, you want children, because the children will grow up, they help to do the farming. It's very important. When people get married, they will first of all check the astrology charts to make sure that they're compatible and that they can have children. Because marriage is meant for having children actually, and children will make the family prosperous. People think, oh, children are a burden, but actually the children are they're a great help for a family who are in the farming, in the field of farming, taking care of land, taking care of cows. It's very useful to have children. Even if you have a shop, you see the children sit in the shops. The little children, they'll take care of the shop on behalf of their parents. So they grow up like that. So Vasudeva is speaking, he says, my good fortune that I'm seeing you. Having obtained this opportunity, I feel as if I have taken birth again. Even though one is present in this world, to meet with intimate friends and dear relatives, it's extremely difficult. Well, definitely in their case, it was difficult because Vasudeva had been in to visit him, so it would certainly be difficult. Nanda Maharaj was careful. He didn't go to meet Vasudeva. He let Vasudeva come to meet him. Because if Nanda Maharaj goes to meet Vasudeva, then it may bring problems for him. But Vasudeva came to meet him. And Vasudeva gives an example about how sometimes in the course of trying to be with people, you get separated. You can see the verse, text number 25. Many planks and stakes, unable to stay together, are carried away by the force of a river's waves. Similarly, although we are intimately related with friends and family members, we are unable to stay together because of our varied past deeds and the waves of time. So, why do we get separated from each other? What's the cause? We come together as friends, but we can't stay with our friends forever. Why not? What separates us?
Time.
Yes, it's mentioned here, right? Because of our past deeds and the influence of time, the waves of time. Not only time, but also our past deeds, our karma. So it brings us together, just like what are some examples we give about straws floating in the river? They come together and then they're separated. Just like we ride on the bus. You get the bus, you sit together on the bus, and then you get off the bus, you never see the people again. You may sit on the bus, you talk to them, and then you get off the bus, you don't see each other again. So that's the nature, material association. So Vasudeva was also appreciating that it was very fortunate that we could come together again to be with each other. So Vasudeva wants to ask questions to Nanda Maharaj. Now you meet someone, according to their position and their situation, you have to know how to question them. What will you ask them? Right? What are you going to ask them? You meet somebody who's a Vaishya, like Nanda Maharaj. So Vasudeva, he knows, he's asking him. What's he asking him? How are the cows? How is the forest? Is there good grass there? Is there enough water? All of these things, very important for the Vaishya to take care of cows. You've got to have land, you've got to have water and grass. So Vasudeva was asking him about all this. Now if you meet somebody, if you're a Kshatriya and you meet another Kshatriya, what are you going to ask him? Ato Krishna Prabhu. What will you ask? If you're a Kshatriya and you meet another Kshatriya, what are you going to talk about?
Are your subjects happy and are your enemies being under control?
Yeah, right. How's your treasury?
Your treasury.
These kind of things, right. So we want to get all of these things taken care of. If you meet a Brahmana, what will you ask the Brahmana?
Are you satisfied?
Yes, right. And when your Guru Maharaj meets you, what does he ask you?
How is your sadhana?
How's your sadhana? Right, yes. Are you chanting your rounds? Are you doing well? How's your sadhana? Right, that's very good. So here you see Vasudeva is asking Nanda Maharaj about how's the cows, how's the forest, is there enough water? Are the cows, is there any disease? You know, even 5,000 years ago, they had to worry about disease. Sometimes you get disease and the government will come, they want to kill all the cows. You get these you get foot and mouth disease or mad cow disease, that kind of thing. So Vasudeva was asking like that. And in text 27, my dear Baladev, my son Baladev, being raised by you and your wife Yashoda, considers you his father and mother, and he's living very peacefully in your home with his real mother, Rohini. So Vasudeva was asking about his own son. Then text 28, friends and relatives are properly situated. One's religion, economic development, sense gratification are beneficial, right? Friends and relatives properly situated. When the relationship is right, then everything is good. Economic development, sense gratification, everything is good. Otherwise, if one's friends and relatives are in distress, these three cannot offer any happiness. These three meaning religion, economic development, and sense gratification. They cannot offer any happiness if the relatives are in distress. So certainly Vasudeva and Devaki, they'd been in some distress. Nanda Maharaj would be thinking like that because they'd been in prison. So Vasudeva informed Nanda Maharaj that although he and his wife and children, although he had his wife and children, he could not properly do his duty of maintaining them and was therefore unhappy. Vasudeva had several wives. How many wives did he have?
8.
8 wives. Okay, it's a big job, right? Keep 8 wives happy. Not an easy task. Still, they're very wonderful ladies, and Devaki is the best of them. And Rohini, of course, is also very, very special. I think Rohini was the mother of Subhadra. And Subhadra was a very favorite child of Lord Krishna.
Devaki is the mother of Subhadra.
Devaki is the mother of Subhadra. Yes, it's stated like that in the 9th canto. That Devaki is the mother of Subhadra. But there are several Subhadras. There's not just one Subhadra.
What about Yashoda's daughter?
Yashoda's daughter, that's not Subhadra. She was never called Subhadra. You won't see that name Subhadra anywhere in relation to Yashoda's daughter. Okay, so King Kamsa killed so many of your children. Nanda Maharaj is speaking now. King Kamsa killed so many of your children, born of Devaki. And your one daughter, the youngest child of all, entered the heavenly planets. Now, when Vasudeva hears this, he's very happy. Why? Ananta Sundar Prabhu, do you know? Why is Vasudeva so happy to hear Nanda Maharaj say?
He is very confident that Nanda Maharaj is not aware that Krishna is my son.
Yes, right. He's very happy because he was wondering, he didn't know. Does Nanda Maharaj know that I'd come there and I'd substituted the children and I'd taken his daughter? But when he hears this, because Nanda Maharaj is saying, your daughter, so this was actually the daughter born of Mother Yashoda, and she entered the heavenly planets. She was a demigod, so she's worshipped in these different places. So Vasudeva felt great relief that Nanda Maharaj doesn't know about my substituting the children. He thinks the daughter is actually mine. But that daughter was actually his, born of Yashoda. Right? Going ahead, text number 30. Every man is certainly controlled by destiny, which determine the results of one's fruitive activities. In other words, one has a son or daughter because of unseen destiny. And when the son or daughter is no longer present, this also is due to unseen destiny. Destiny is the ultimate controller of everyone. One who knows this is never bewildered. So this is similar to what Kamsa was saying. He was talking about destiny. That it was destiny that these 6 sons had to die. He told Vasudeva and Devaki it was their destiny. So here also Nanda Maharaj is saying it was destiny, every man controlled. Nanda Maharaj trying to console Vasudeva. Vasudeva could say, hey, listen, I heard all this before. I heard this from Kamsa. Now you're telling me the same thing. But anyway, Vasudeva is happy because he's thinking that my son, Krishna, is actually here. He's with Nanda Maharaj now. Nanda Maharaj taking care of him. So destiny is being described again, the ultimate controller of everyone. Sometimes it's called providence, sometimes we call it karma, but destiny. We all have our own destiny. We say whatever will be, will be. The future is not ours to see. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he describes in one poem he wrote, he said, forget the past which sleeps, and ne'er the future dream at all, but live with times which are with thee, and progress thee shall call. So Bhaktivedanta Thakur encourages us to live in the present and don't dream about the future and forget the past. That's the idea. Okay, text 31. Vasudeva said to Nanda Maharaj, now my dear brother, since you have paid the annual taxes to Kamsa and have also seen me, do not stay in this place for many days. It is better to return to Gokul, since I know that there may be some disturbance. He knows that the situation, that you have a ruler, a demonic ruler like Kamsa, with all of his ministers, and they're going around killing young children. So there's a lot of danger around. So he encourages Nanda Maharaj that you should go back home, because Vasudeva knows the 2 children are there, his 2 sons. And he wants that Nanda Maharaj should be there because Nanda Maharaj is the senior most of all the cowherd men. And so if he's there, then he will be able to take care of any major issue which may come up. So he encourages him, you should go back. Don't be staying here. You've seen me now you better go back. Right? So Sukadeva Goswami said, after Vasudeva advised Nanda Maharaj in this way, Nanda Maharaj and his associates, the cowherd men, took permission from Vasudeva, yoked their bulls to the bullock carts and started riding for Gokul. Any questions? Nanda Maharaj knows Vasudeva is a learned person. Nanda Maharaj is a simple man. He's a farmer. Farmers basically simple people. But Vasudeva is a politician, he's a statesman, he's very educated, learned. So Nanda Maharaj has respect for him. And when Vasudeva gives him this advice, he thinks, yeah, I better go immediately, you're right. So he's packed up and he's going back to Gokul. Do we have any questions? Marriages have been very quiet today. Any questions, ladies? No one? I started late, I'm sorry. We should go ahead a bit. We should do a bit more But if you don't have any questions, there's no. It's a short chapter. But there was only 32 texts, and not a lot of philosophy. Anyway, just to summarize the chapter, we heard about the birth of Lord Krishna and Nanda Maharaj, how he arranged the Jata Karma ceremony, the birth ceremony, and how he gave so much charity. How many cows did he give in charity? 2 million, right? And then there was so much yogurt and butter, they were throwing it everywhere, and they were rolling in it all over their bodies, smearing it all over their skin. And Nanda Maharaj was giving charity to everyone, whatever they wanted, he would give them. He was happy to give charity to them.
Maharaj, can I ask a question, Maharaj?
Please do.
Maharaj, when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, Saralata hi Vaishnavata, simplicity is Vaishnavism, how do we understand that? Because at times devotees have to be shrewd, diplomatic for Krishna's service, and yet there are devotees who cannot be shrewd, they are just naturally simple. How do we understand that statement, Maharaj?
Well, everyone according to their nature. Not everyone is expected to be so shrewd, but generally simplicity means, if the teacher asks you, do you understand? You will tell him. You won't hide the truth. You won't just say, oh yeah, I understand, and you don't understand. Or they're giving prasadam, and there's not enough prasadam, and you want more, but you don't like to say, oh, I'm hungry, I need more. You don't say, no, it's enough, Prabhu, it's okay, Prabhu, don't worry about it. You try to hide it, cover up. So simplicity is to be straightforward, speak the truth. But of course, try to speak the truth in a manner which is pleasing. Try to be make it kind and palatable. That's the idea. Satyam priyat. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat. So, simplicity. Yes, at the same time, some people have to be very expert in dealing. We see Raghunath Goswami was very expert. When he was a young man, he saved his uncle and that they were going to get in trouble from the rulers because he'd done some corruption. But Raghunath Goswami was so clever, he changed. And Sanatan Goswami also, to get out of prison, he had to speak in a very clever way to convince the jailer that he was going to go to Mecca and he was going to do pilgrimage there and like that. So he got out of the prison. So sometimes you have to be clever. You have to know. You have to use your intelligence, yeah. It helps, certainly. But we should know when we have to use it, and not to cover up all the time. Not all the, we shouldn't lie and cheat. That's the point. We should, but sometimes you have to do that. Prabhupada said that a great soul cheats for a great cause. So sometimes you have to cheat for a great cause. Consider the cause, and then use your otherwise. Maintain simplicity. Yeah?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you. But often it is seen that we try to cheat for great cause and then we end up cheating for petty cause.
Yes. We have to be careful. So we try to do our best, yeah?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, if there are no other questions, then we'll just finish here tonight. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki.
His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Maharaj ki jai.